Hi, this is Demond and you are watching Salesforce Introduction to Wrapper Class video tutorial 2. In this demonstration, I will explain how does this wrapper class works for two different custom objects record combination, so that you can access two custom objects record which having master detail or lookup relationship in a single record and can perform different operation. Also, there are different functionality which has been explained in this video tutorials, like inline editing, comparing two records before modified and after modified. Now you can see that this is account record and this is the address record which has been explained. Now I'll explain the relationship, how does it has been created. This is the address as a child and these are all the address fields, and you can see that this address has been displayed along with this account using the wrapper class, and only the primary address has been accessed. So one account could have multiple addresses, but only primary addresses will be accessible. So which account have primary address you can display using this wrapper class. So I am going to check the primary again, and you can see the records are being displayed, and this is the address object where we have created this master detail lookup relationship and all the different fields. Now if I go to account, and these are the different fields which has been displayed along with this address. Now for this address I'm going to change the name. Let's make it 2, so that we should not be confused that these are two different addresses for two different accounts. And you can see that we are showing this account along with this address using the wrapper class. Now we have implemented this inline editing functionality in the wrapper class as well, so that you can perform the modification using the inline itself. Okay, you can see that we can perform multiple inline editing operation for different fields of account as well as addresses. And if you make the changes, the color will be changed, which is being provided by Salesforce out of the box functionality. And if we perform the next, these are the three different flags which also has been introduced with wrapper class, and the modification is being reflected there. Like previously we made the modification for address and both, so these both and address flag has been checked. Now if we perform the modification for account, and in the second record we perform the modification for address, and click next, then we can see that account and address change flag has been checked, so that we can easily detect what are the changes has been done for different wrapper class using the wrapper class. And all the values are being reflecting here, what are the changes, so that you can perform different operation later as well. Now if we make the changes in the email field of this account, and its corresponding primary address, and click next, so that only one record has been modified and both address and account fields has been modified. So that is checked there, so that we can easily identify that which record has been modified and how does it modified. with advanced operation also we can easily detect that these are the fields has been modified, so that you don't have to use any JavaScript or any other operations. You can easily use Salesforce provided class and some inline editing functionality, and you can easily detect these changes. Going to explain how does this has been designed. So we have created one page wrapper example 2, and this is the class, and these are the this is the constructor of the class. Now we are going to create one wrapper class here, and in this wrapper class one variable as account with getSet method and address with getSet method. So it should be account. Okay, so this is the variable of account. Now for more reference how does this wrapper class works, you can refer the video as mentioned. Now this is the constructor for this wrapper class, constructor with argument or with parameter passed as account and address. And for the wrapper class, we to accept those parameters from the constructor we use this dot account and this dot address is equal to AD, which is being passed from the parameter. To explain this account and this parameter, when you will be calling this wrapper class, it will access the parameter value and will assign to this variable account and address. Okay. Now we are going to write one method which will access the accounts which are active and having address as primary address, and will assign to this list of wrapper address variable. And after that we will access the list to define global variable of wrapper type. Now this is temporary list of wrapper, and we are creating on temporary account list which will access accounts with all these fields, and we are going to write query within query, inner query, to access the related address for these accounts. Now query within query is written like this, and we are accessing all the account records from account, where active is equal to yes, this yes field, you can see there are two values, yes and no. And for address, where this primary, which is checkbox primary C, is equal to true. Okay, it has been written, and if we try to save, we need to append relationship in the address, and in the address you will see we have to use the plural label for this. For relationship query within query, we need to use the plural label and append R at the end. Okay, this should be wrapper class name, and if we save, we need to add the return. Okay, so it will return the temporary wrapper, where now we are going to assign those accounts and its corresponding primary address. So we are writing this for loop for all the accounts which has been retrieved into temp account list, and there should be another for loop to access the addresses. Now accessing the address, which is primary, which will return only one record, will be assigned to this address variable. And within this for, we are accessing the list of addresses, which will return only one address. This dot, again this relationship, and plural level, this dot r. So this variable will access the list of corresponding addresses, and we are accessing this, we are assigning this address to this address record, which will return only one record. Okay, and for each and every account there could be no address, or there could be multiple address, or there could be no primary address as well. So we are using this if condition to check whether this address list of size is greater than 0 and temporary, and we are assigning this temp wrap list, which is type of wrapper list, and creating new wrapper account address record, assigning account and address. So the you can see the constructor has been defined for account and address. So it will access the account and in an address, and will create one wrapper record for each and every account which is having one primary address. Now if we save it, it will return the temporary list. So if we call this method, it will access all the accounts, it will return all the accounts of which is having at least one primary address. Okay, now we are going to define one wrapper list. Now you need to definitely use the public as access modifier, and we are assigning the memory, allocating the memory at the constructor. Always we define the memory in the constructor like this, and we are creating another wrapper old. So we are defining two variables because of the referencing of memory. So if you assign the list of account which has been returned now into WRP and try to assign it to WRP old, then it will reference the old variable. So we are accessing this with accessing into two variables. One is WRP, which will be currently used in visualforce page for the modification of the records, and WRP old, which will be used for comparing purpose. So WRP old will hold the values, and WRP will be used into the visualforce page so that user can modify and can see. So if you see in the view state, you can see the accounts which has been returned and its corresponding address, and also for WRP old, this is the value has been returned. Okay, so WRP and WRP old. Now WRP will be used into the visualforce page, and WRP old will be kept for future reference. The only purpose of this WRP old is to compare with the current modified records. Now we are going to design the visualforce UI to utilize this wrapper variable which has been which holds all the accounts and the primary addresses. Now within this div tag, we are going to use on table to display the list of accounts and address at a time, and we have defined this IDs for table row and table columns. Now we use T-body with this different CSS. You can have all these details into our code, and this is the TR, and this is for the headers. Headers contains name of the account, type of the account is active or not, and the email. And this is the ID, which having all the CSS properties, and all these fields, remaining fields, are fields of addresses, address line 1, address line 2, and its state. If you see, the design would be like this: name, email, address line 1, and we are closing the sidebar for proper view. And now we are going to use the apex repeat command, apex repeat tag. Within this apex repeat, we will use the TR, which will create multiple rows for each and every account, and we are using value as wrapper variable and var as w. So we will use this var there within this repeat. Now we are going to create some TD, some columns with this ID, type, active, and email. And for addresses, we will use these columns. Now let's create one column for account name. So for account name, we use the output link, so that if you click on the name, you will be redirected to the detail page for the account. So output link, and value should be /ID of the account, which would be accessed using this wrapper. So w dot account, this wrapper variable account dot ID, so that it will access all the accounts for each and every record you iterated into this repeat. And here we use the account dot name. So to make sure that these fields are used in the SQL query during constructor call. And you can see these are 2 accounts has been returned for this repeat. We can see the name, and now we are going to implement these columns for remaining fields like type, active. So we use apex output field for that. So to use the inline editing, we have to use the output field. So this is the active field, and so we use the type second, and we have to use apex inline edit support tag to use the inline editing into the visualforce page, along with output field. We cannot use any other tags other than output field to support with inline editing support, inline edit support tag. Okay, so use these different parameters like event as on DBL click, change style class as my bold class, and reset function as reset inline edit. Okay, now if we see that inline editing is now active for this type field. Okay, so you can see that if we change the value, it will be my bold class change style class, and reset function would be inline edit, which is the out of the box functionality. So we are going to implement it for the remaining columns. Now for address as well. So the same for address. Address name, so we have to replace this account variable with here with address, which is wrapper variable. The same for here also. So if we save, we can see the address names. So we will set the target as blank, so that if you click on that link, it will open into the new window. Now if we save, we can see if we click, it will be redirect you to the detail page of the address. Now we are going to place the same for remaining address fields with inline edit support. All these remaining fields. Now if you save it, you can see the fields have the inline editing capability. So we have implemented these inline editing capabilities with wrapper variables. Now if you can see that it is returning the accounts with addresses and placing into this visualforce page. Now we are going to create one button, next button, which will identify what are the values has been changed for which object, like account or address or both. So if account is changed, then it will be identified that account has been changed. So we have to create this next button we have created, and now page block button to place into proper view. So we have created this next. Now we are going to implement the method as next modified records. So we will identify what are the records has been modified and how it has been modified, like only address has been changed or account has been changed or both has been changed. So we'll refer the method here, and now we are going to create one wrapper list as modified records, modified list, this modified WRP, and now assigning the allocating the memory for this list. Now whatever records will be modified into the VF page will be added into this modified WRP variable. So okay, this is the error. So we replace this. Now if we want to use the if you want to detect the accounts or address change we have to first compare the account. So to compare the account, we have to create specific method for that. So this is the method which will accept the old account as record and current account. So within this method, this method will return true or false. So if old account and this current modified account is equal, then it will return true. So these are the account columns which will be compared. The values will be compared for these columns. In the SQL query, first we have used those columns. So for these account columns which contains type, active, all these values, we use this old account dot get sd not is equal to current modified account dot get sd. So using this syntax, we can pass the string field name as string, and we can access the value from the list or from the record. So if old account record is not equal to current modified account record, then it will return false. That means both accounts are not equal. There has been the modifications has been made. So it will return false. Now from here you can identify the string as well. Identify the field name as well. So that is the advanced part for comparison of account. Okay. So this is the method, and we have written this method. We will use it into the next for modified record method. Okay, this should be SD. So we are going to use one for loop of variable as wrapper, and we will use the current modified wrapper list. This is the variable of type wrapper account address, and we will use the current which has been used into the visualforce page. For each and every record, and within this for loop we will use another for loop of same type but with the old wrapper. So it will compare with each and every old record. So for current modified record and each and every old record, it will check first if account is changed. So to identify that, first we need to make sure that it is working on first iteration of account record. So current account record, it will search within this for loop if both have the ID as same, because ID is the primary key, and then it will check for the address. So this is the account and ID, so it is accessing from the wrapper. Then it will check if the address ID is same. So it should be address, then it will check if this wrapper dot address, which holding the current executed account's address, is not is equal to, sorry, is equal to the address, because address has not been changed. And it will check for the accounts as well. If account is equal to same. So there is one bug in Salesforce, that if account not is equal to old account, or if you are comparing that, it will not show the proper result. That's why that account comparison method has been written. But for now, for account comparison is equal to, it not is equal to, it will work properly. So I will show that later. But for this we need to first create three boolean types: account change, address change, and account address both changed. So we are using into the wrapper. So the wrapper is type of account, address, and boolean now. Okay, we are defining first as false, that means allocating memory for this. This 3, and we are going to use it into this if condition. Within this if condition, if account, address, and both. So if account is changed, then we will make this account change flag as true, so that wrapper will hold the variable as true for this account change boolean function, boolean variable. So we are going to use this. Okay, it should be old. Okay, because, sorry, it should be current execution. So current modified record, we are going to use it for later. So this is the current modified record, and we are going to use it into the modified wrap. I mean, going to add it into the modified wrap list. So this current wrapper account address record, which is currently being executed or iterated, will hold those boolean value and the account and address. Now we are going to create this new page with same controller, which will display the account, the modified records or the change records. We are going to use the same template, but with some difference. Okay, so we paste it here and we make some modifications. These are the headers, and we are going to use the modified wrap variable, which holds the modified records. And we are going to remove all this inline editing from here, so that it will be read only for all the records being displayed, and we'll remove the next button. Okay, next button removed, and we are going to use this page, but currently we need to add 3 headers, 3 check boxes. So in this table, 3 headers as account changed, then address change, then account and address change, both changed. and in this display data we will use 3 columns which will display the checkboxes. So we use checkboxes here as Apex input checkbox function tag, value as this wrapper w, which is coming from the modified records which has been added here, and all these three boolean variables, and disabled is equal to true, so that it should look like read only. You will be not allowed to modify anything from there. The same for address as well. Just we need to change the flag as address, and for both change, here we modify the both changes. So the page has been prepared, we save it. Okay, you can see sidebar is equal to false, so that it will be shown properly. Now we are going to use this page into this as a return function. So to redirect to any new page, any page with which is using the same controller, we don't use set redirect. We just use page reference p is equal to page dot page name, and return is equal to return that page variable, page reference variable, and we save it. So now if we make any modification into the account and click next, we can see that account change is reflecting. Okay, now we are going to implement it for address change. So if any address is changed, how we are going to detect? We are going to use the same concept, but for account comparison we will use the method which has been written, that account record comparison method. So first we compare that account record is correct, then address record is correct using the id, then address not is equal to old address, and we use this boolean function, this function which has been, so here the current execution record and this is the old record from the list, and if both are same then it will return true. Okay, wrapper dot account and old wrapper dot account. So this b will return true. So if true, then it will set those boolean variables flag for address is equal to true and remainings are false. So this would be false and this will be true, and it will add it into the modified wrapper. Okay, and we save it. Now if we do the test here, like first we change the account and add some value into the address for second record, so we can see that now it's reflecting address change as well. So account change and address change is completed. Now we are going for both changes. So we use the same method but with different approach. So it's for both account and address are changed. So for that we copy this. So that is for address change. Now if the account comparison method returns false, then it is sure that account and address both has been changed. So we set third flag as true. Now if we save it, we'll see. So we make the modification of the state for this record. We make the modification for pin for the same record, and in the address we make the modification. So for first record only one account value has been changed, and for second record both account and address has been changed. So you can see the flag is checked. Okay. So this is the variable which is holding those modified values. So you can use this variable later as well. Okay, and it is displaying this way. So again to say, this method has been written because Salesforce does not allow to compare the standard object record if the value is false. That means not equal. So that's why we are getting this discrepancy. Okay, so this is the code. How does it work? It will access all the accounts and will assign to this wrapper. It will display the wrapper. Inline editing has been enabled, and if any value is changed using the inline editing functionality, it will detect, it will assign into these boolean values as true. For account change, it will assign first into the first account change boolean value, and for address as well it will set the address, and for both changes it will set for both. So those columns has been used to compare two account records using all those string defined as account columns. So this account column list has been used in this method, account record comparison method. Okay, and this is the VF page code. These are the different tags, different CSS which has been used into this header classes, into these tables. Okay, let's do some robust testing. We change the account type for first record, then change it for the second record and click next. We can see that both account has been checked. Then we change for the account and the email address, adding R, and line 2 as line 2, and we make the modification to the pin as 3. So we modify for account and address, so it will check the both change flag and we can see the modifications. So we can use this wrapper, modified wrapper, for future reference as well. So thank you. Please subscribe and share this video with all the interested people, your friends, colleagues. Thank you very much. Bye.